Hey there. So today I want to talk to you about the magnetic relationship that is codependent and narcissist. I get asked questions all the time in my community. And one of the things that comes up is, why is it I always seem to be attracting narcissists into my life? Now, that might be the starting point was a narcissistic parent. But when you start to track back through your life, very often you start to see that there's been a pattern of narcissistic friends, narcissistic relationships. And there's many people in my community that have had a catalogue, one after the other, of attracting narcissists into their loving relationships. So why does that happen? Why is it when you find yourself with one narcissist, very often you end up being with another one, and then another one, and then another one? What is it about that magnetic relationship that attracts each other, the codependent and the narcissist, that almost makes it a match made in heaven? Or maybe I should say a match made in hell, right? So, what is it about a codependent and a narcissist that means they are so attractive to each other? And for this, I'm going to talk to you about childhood wounds and what then comes up. So many of you know that in the work that I do and the coaching and the therapy, I use something called internal family systems as a real foundational starting point. Now, internal family systems is an evidence-based parts therapy. So how I see people and how I work within my narcissistic trauma recovery program and with my one-to-ones is we really map out what protector parts you have that are protecting you from feeling your self-worthiness wound and stopping you from living as your true self. And I always think, if you think about it like that triangle, that there's some kind of self-worthiness wound. And because the brain's number one job is to protect you, to keep you alive, to keep you away from pain, and to keep you safe, the brain is like, whoa, don't ever want to feel that again. That is too painful. Because you imagine as a kid feeling worthless, not good enough, maybe not important, not heard, not seen. That's going to be really painful for a child to feel. So everything in our system becomes about don't want to feel that self-worthiness wound. So in come all of your protector parts. Now, very often we look at our protector parts in a negative way because they can show up with things like emotional eating, procrastination, self-sabotage, perfectionism, high achieving, dissociation, addictions. I mean, that's just a small handful of protector parts that take on these roles within our system so we don't feel those self-worthiness wounds, because it stops us from living as ourselves. Our brain thinks, oh, when you were just yourself, look how people treated you. And it created that core wound that your system is doing everything in its power to protect. Now, many of you thinking as you're listening to this thing, yeah, I get that. That's a codependency right there, because that lack of self, not knowing that you are simply good enough, lovable, worthy, important for just being yourself, yeah, that's codependency. It is also the narcissist wound too. So the narcissist and the codependent actually have very similar self-worthiness wounds of things like, I'm worthless, I'm not good enough, I'm not important. And for whatever reason, the children, whilst they're going through those events, perceive them as it must be because of them. And because of that, their system is like, oh, so me just being me can't be good enough. And how painful is that? So up pop those parts to try and protect you from feeling that wound. So what exactly then makes the magnet of the narcissist and the codependent if really the self-worthiness wounds are really, really similar? Well, from a science perspective, we don't then know what makes a narcissist and a codependent to stay a codependent. Because actually codependency, that lack of self, narcissists are also codependent. However, and again, this is why I love internal family systems when I explain this. Codependency in people like you and I who've been in those relationships, our protector parts that show up and the roles that get taken on are things like people pleasing, perfectionism, procrastination, all of those very much giving protector parts. If I'm not good enough, if I'm not worthy, I'm going to give, because surely if I give all of this, surely if I'm perfect, surely if I do all of this, then surely the abuse will lessen, or the people that I am showing all this to must know then that I am good enough. So again, your system is doing everything in its power to really diminish the pain of that self-worthiness wound. And it's exactly the same for a narcissist, except the narcissist protector parts take on a narcissistic nature. Now, you may well see with a narcissist that they may also be perfectionists. They may also have addictions, and actually many narcissists will have addictions as well, from drugs to sex to porn, whatever that is. They will very often have those addictions. But the protector parts themselves with a narcissist have very much narcissistic traits: the manipulation, the coercive behavior, the anger, the aggression, the victim-like mentality of the covert narcissist, for instance, as well. The kind of feel sorry for me. So the narcissist protector parts, if you imagine we have the self, okay, the true self of who we all want to be, that compassionate, curious, confident, calm individual operating as our true self. We then get the self-worthiness wounds, whatever they are. Everybody's going to be different with that. And then the next step, we get those protector parts to stop us feeling those self-worthiness wounds. And it's almost like the narcissist takes another step where the codependent stays. So the narcissist protector parts also take on this narcissistic nature, because again, the narcissist is always driven by narcissistic supply, the drug of choice, to not feel that self-worthiness wound, just like the codependent. Now, why then does this make it a match made in heaven? Well, the narcissist, to soothe the narcissist self-worthiness wound, just wants to take. Because the narcissist thinks, well, surely then, if I'm just taking, and I'm powerful, or they're behaving in a certain way towards me, that must mean then that surely I am good enough, surely I am worthy, lovable, powerful, all of those things. And it really soothes the narcissist wound. Now, the codependent, though, remember, slightly different protector parts showing up, still very similar, but the narcissists go one step further. So the codependent is like, I'm going to give, because surely if I give to the narcissist, then maybe their abuse will diminish. And that's very much where the fawning trauma response can come in as well. So you have this codependent giving, all because to protect that self-worthiness wound. And the narcissist taking to protect not feeling the self-worthiness wound. So both are coming from a place doing beautiful jobs actually in their system. However, this is not an excuse. Whenever I talk about this, I want to be really, really clear that abuse is abuse is abuse. And whilst I'm explaining why a narcissist behaves in the way that they do, that in no way excuses their behavior. Because let's be honest, narcissistic abuse is trauma. However, the power to heal then lies within you. Because if you think the narcissist behavior is always about getting narcissistic supply so it doesn't feel that self-worthiness wound, the same as the codependent with the protector parts to not feel that self-worthiness wound. But if you think about the codependent, where does the wound come from? Is the narcissist the cause of the wound in that moment? Highly unlikely. Now, yes, you may have narcissistic parents that will have caused that wound too, but ultimately the narcissist is just actually triggering, ripping the scab off that core wound that you already have as the codependent, which makes you the magnet. So think about this. It's not the narcissist to you as the codependent that is making you feel the way that you do. That wound was already there. What the narcissist is doing is actually shining a great big spotlight on it so that you feel highly triggered, highly activated. Your system is like danger, and you go into all this array of protector parts to try and stop you feeling what your core wound was. Now, when I work with my clients and when I work in my narcissistic trauma recovery program, it's all great to manage those symptoms of those protector parts: emotional eating, people pleasing, procrastination, addictions. It's great to manage those symptoms, but being trauma informed means what's the root cause? Now, we know at the moment from a scientific perspective that narcissists aren't born a narcissist. There isn't a narcissist gene, so to speak. It goes down to, again, the environment that a childhood has been brought up in, that childhood trauma. And again, from a narcissist, it could be they've been the golden child. It may be abuse, neglect, interpretation, whatever that is, to form the narcissist. Equally the same also as a codependent. It's very rare a codependent that will be like the golden child necessarily. It's very much there might be a scapegoat. They may well have interpreted unemotional parents as their perception that they aren't good enough or they're not worthy. So again, we have this kind of foundation that is coming from our childhood with all of this. And with a narcissist who, remember, they're not born like this. These are created to protect the wound of the narcissist, then that core wound. All of those parts come up. Now, the problem being with a narcissist is we can never get beyond those protector parts to work on the core wound. You know, if I said, for instance, to my ex-husband, listen, I know that there is a self-worthiness wound that has come from childhood, you know, let's work on this. There is no way he would turn around and say, oh, yes, of course, let's work on that. I know the response would be, and you're probably going to be able to relate to this, the standard answer would probably be, I wouldn't need to behave like this if you weren't like that. So again, everything is projected out onto the other person. The narcissist does not understand subjective distress. The narcissist does not understand that their behavior is the cause of then other people's behavior. They don't understand that. They think they are having to behave like that because of you. And if you're blended with a protector part and got a really triggered core self-worthiness wound, your reaction back will be trying to prove then that you're good enough, that you're worthy, and all of those other protector parts will come up for you as well. So it's really important to understand, whilst I would love to be able to say, send the narcissist to me and I'll work with their self-worthiness wound. I will work on those core exiled wounds that they have. But there is no evidence to suggest right now that that can be done. There has been studies where medication has helped with some narcissists, but the relational side, they still are unable to continue having a healthy relationship. It just isn't possible. Yet if I say to a codependent and I talk about all of this, just like many of you that are listening right now, you can probably relate to all of this. You can probably understand that your reactions in the present are coming from a lack of self-worth, a lack of self-confidence, a lack of self-love, because at some stage, somewhere in your past, there has been an interpretation and perception of other people's behavior that in some way it's because of you. That inner child wound of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I am not important, I'm unlovable, has come from your interpretation. And no matter how much you say to yourself as an adult, I know I am, if we don't work on that deeper part of the brain and in the body, every time there is a trigger of someone making you feel not good enough, unworthy, not important, or unloved, you are going to react. All of those protector parts are going to come up, doing a great job, but isn't it far better to work on the core wound? And that's certainly what we do in the Narcissistic Trauma Recovery Program that I have within my community. We work on the root cause. That's what trauma informed is. You know, trauma informed is about working on the root cause of the wound, because let's face it, if we work on the root cause of a codependence wound and we really work and we can heal that emotional wound, then those protector parts in those roles won't need to keep showing up because there isn't a wound for them to protect. So think about that. If we work on the root cause, everything changes. It doesn't mean the narcissist has changed. It doesn't mean their behavior has changed. It just means our perception now of the narcissist behavior is not coming from a place of emotional wounds that you have had from your childhood. You understand that their behavior is just them projecting their pain and hurt onto you, not as a reflection or because of you. So I hope that really helps you understand why a codependent and a narcissist are a magnet to each other, and how you can start to take those first steps to really look at that root cause. Why am I a magnet to a narcissist? What is it about me that I can work on and I can heal so that I don't attract the narcissist? Because when you're coming from a place of giving, 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 and that's not to say giving is bad. I give a lot, but I give from a place of self. If you are giving, giving, giving from a place of blending with your protector parts, that's when we start attracting narcissists into our life, because there is an agenda then to those parts. I'm going to give, 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 and please, 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 because I have this agenda that if I do that, then surely your behavior is going to change, and that's going to soothe my system. That's going to soothe my inner self-worthiness wound then too. So think about how you are showing up. Are you showing up from a place of self? Is that how you're dealing with the narcissist? Or are you blended with a protector part that has an agenda to get everybody else, including the narcissist, to behave in a certain way so that soothes your system? Two very, very different things. But the beauty of this is the power to heal narcissistic trauma is in you. It is not the narcissist, it is in you. So I hope that really helped you understand, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.